In this video, I will be telling the summary of the lesson A New Name. So, as I told you before, I have divided this lesson into three subdivisions. Number one, the new law and its impact. So, what was the new law and what impact did it create on the children? And the second subdivision is what happened at school. And the third subdivision is about Tomo and Kyoko's friendship. The new law that was enforced, and if not followed, the Koreans had to face strict punishment. So, this lesson is about a 10-year-old girl and her feelings about her change of name. The Japanese wanted to treat the Koreans like slaves, and they didn't allow the Koreans to follow their tradition, their culture, their religion. And the worst part was that they wanted them to change their names to Japanese names. So, who helps the children change their names? It was the father here. In Korea, we call the father as Abuji. So, the father helps Kim Sun Hee change her name to a Japanese name called as Kyoko. The father gave the name starting with the letter K. Since her previous name was Kim, starting with the letter K. Now there was a terrible confusion in the class. And do you think the girl accepted her name? The girl, she just did not like her new name at all. And children, imagine if you are given a new name, all of a sudden, will you accept it? So the next few days, there was a lot of confusion in the class. The classmates had to take. They had to be called by Japanese names, and the teacher also knew the difficult situation that children had to face. So she also tried to be very patient initially, and then she started to be stern enough because she wanted the children to learn their names. This girl Kyoko was a very clever girl, and she used to be very careful in calling out her classmates' name. And she was also very cautious that she responds when her new name was called out. And what was her new name? It was Kyoko. And the next day, the worst thing happened. She was very tired and her brain was worn out. Now, who came to school? Yes, it was Onishi, a Japanese army officer who had come to class for inspection. So he had the habit of coming to class, stand at the back and observe the children whether they are following the rule imposed by the Japanese government. So this girl, I told you that she became very tired. And it was hard for her to be cautious about what she was thinking. And that particular day was not her day, because instead of calling out a Japanese name called as Megumi, she called out Myunggun, a Korean name. So Onishi heard this and he was not happy at all. He made a strange and funny sound, meaning that a corporal punishment should be imposed on the girl. And what you mean by a corporal punishment? A punishment like hitting with a stick was an apt one. As expected, the teacher asked the girl to come in front, and the girl was the daughter of the vice principal of the school, and she was never beaten before. The whole class was silent. The girl knew what was going to happen, and the teacher's face was unhappy since she didn't want to hit the girl, but she was forced to do it as Onishi was still there in the class. The girl thought that it was unfair because the names were changed without their consent, And next, they were not given the time to study their names. So these were the two reasons why the girl thought that it was unfair to hit her. So when the teacher started to hit the girl, she was angry and she was not frightened. Next part of the story is about Kyoko and Tomo's friendship. As the saying goes, as a friend in need is a friend indeed, I think a true friend is the one who understands you better, isn't it? Tomo and Kyoko, they were both best friends. And Tomo was a Japanese boy and Kyoko was a Korean girl. Now Tomo was very annoyed that his best friend's name got changed. So the boy was trying to pound Kyoko's name into his brain. The boy was making all sorts of funny sounds with Kyoko's name. So the girl was happy that her name was given disrespect by her friend. So this shows that she didn't like her name even 1%. Tomo at this point asked her if he could call her by her Korean name when they both were alone. But now Kyoko, the girl, she refuses to accept and tells that there will be a great confusion if you have to call out my name all of a sudden. And Tomo, who was he? He was the son of the principal of the school, and he had to be more responsible, and he has to set an example to the other children. If he sets a bad example by making a mistake, he will feel embarrassed, isn't it? So this was a valid suggestion given by Kyoko, her best friend. So for two reasons, Tomo needs to be more responsible. Number one, being the principal's son, he had to set an example and he needs to be more responsible. And two, he needs to follow the rules imposed by the Japanese government because he was a Japanese by himself.
Finally, I would like to conclude that name is something that our parents have given us, and no one has the freedom or the right to change our name. What had happened in this lesson, children? Japan had taken over Korea. As a result, the Koreans were not given the freedom to follow or use their original names. So they had to change their names into Japanese names. So this has happened to us also, children. So before independence, the Britishers treated us also like slaves. They didn't give us the freedom to do whatever we like. And they not only looted our wealth, but they looted our cultural heritage and tradition. So name is something that we get from our family, and losing the name is something very difficult to digest. So what had happened? So it was our freedom fighters who just fought for us, for our independence, and gave their lives. So we owe a lot to them, isn't it? But what are we doing today, children? We are heading towards a battle that is filled with cultural differences, religious differences, and we have just forgotten all the hard work done by our freedom fighters. So just ponder on the fact, in what way can we show our gratitude towards our freedom fighters who gave their lives for us, who shed their blood? Think about it, children. I hope you understood the lesson, children. Thank you.